What do you do when you've got a great idea for a Power App, but the built-in icons just aren't going to cut it? Enter the world of SVG Icons, scalable vector graphics that you can use in your app in place of the built-in icons. And there are literally hundreds of thousands of them available for you to download, many times for free. In this video, we're going to talk about how to import and utilize scalable vector graphics, as well as where you can find them, and then why you would or maybe wouldn't want to use them in your app. I encourage you to subscribe and hit the notification bell because this is actually only the first part of a two-part series of videos on using SVG icons. In the next part, we're going to take things to the next level and show you how to take your beautiful icons and add some interactivity using a single component to create this great menu interface that uses all custom icons. That'll be in the next video, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss it. I'm Power Platform Ryan, and let's get started. So the first question is, why would you want to use SVG icons instead of the built-in icons? And the simple answer is creative liberty. There is not a lot of creativity to the built-in icons. They're very square, they're very boxy, and there aren't that many of them, especially if you have kind of a focused type of app. You know, maybe you're in the finance space and you need a lot of different types of money icons, finance icons. You're going to be limited by what's available. And so you might then ask, okay, well, why don't we just do PNG graphics or something like this? So let me just show you this in action. We've got two copies of this same icon here. Now this top one is a PNG. It's a raster file. It's a pixel-based file as opposed to a vector-based file. And look what happens when we increase the scale of this file. See how we've got, you know, these fuzzy edges and pixelation, whereas the bottom one, the SVG graphic, is fully intact and could be scaled as large as you want, and it's still going to be great quality. So that's why we use SVGs. Another reason is because the file size is tiny, and SVG is actually just a text file. And so the file size is tiny, you know, maybe 100 bytes for this one file versus at least double that for a raster PNG file. The other thing too is that we can change the colors on an SVG icon. And so take a look here, you know, I've just applied some just very simple controls to change that color, no problem. And that's not something that we can do with an image file. So that is the reason that we would want to use SVG graphics. Now, there are some disadvantages. As you're going to see, it's a little less straightforward to use an SVG icon versus a normal image file or certainly the built-in icons. There are some things lacking with SVG icons. For example, there's no hover property the way we have on normal icons. We can change the hover color on a normal icon. At the current moment, we cannot change the hover color, though there are some indications if you do some sniffing around that that is a possible upcoming feature, which we really hope it is. For any of you who are JavaScript folks, you know that the on mouse over event or on hover event is really important for good UI design, and it's something that is sadly missing from the as just a basic event in PowerApps. So we hope that's coming soon, but in the meantime, it's limited. Then before we keep going, let's talk about where you can get these icons. I will have these linked in the description, but here's some of my personal favorites. The first one is svgrepo.com. Over 500,000 icons. Pretty much everything is free for the SVGs. Some icon sites will tell you that they're free and you can download them for free as PNG files, but not as vectors. The Bootstrap icons, the over 2,000 icons that are available as part of Bootstrap, you can download all of them and download them as SVGs. And then Matthew Devaney has put together a great little embedded Power App in his Power Pages here with a bunch of the Fluent UI icons, and so you can go over to his site and his blog. I highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite blogs to follow on Power Platform, but he's got this great resource put together where you can download the icons. There is lineicons.com, another one with a large number of free icons. And then my favorite source is a paid source, but I have a subscription, so for me, it's basically free. But this is Envato Elements. I've pitched it before, not a sponsor, but I would love for them to be, because they are just an amazing resource that I use all the time for graphic templates, UI, UX templates, and icon packs. Over 43,000 packs of icons, each of them with anywhere from 10 to 200 or more icons each. And so this is a tremendous resource that I encourage you to look at. But the one that we're going to use for today is Sysfunction Metro. So this is actually an app that you download. You can just sign up for free, and then it will give you access to over 7,000 icons that you can use in your app. And so we're going to grab, say, a profile icon, and we just type that in there, and look at all of these different options for profiles. Now remember, we want SVG icons, so we can click on, I like this one right here, just simple and basic. We'll tap on edit. We are going to bring it in here, and then what's great about this particular app is, unlike the websites where you're just going to download, you get what you get. With Sysfunction Metro, you can adjust things like giving it a background color, or just a circle outline, or a square, or you just make it transparent, and then you can actually, change the color of the icon itself. We're going to be messing with it on a white background, so let's go ahead and just make it black. And then we're going to say export. Make sure that you're exporting as an SVG, not as a PNG, which I think is the default. And so let's just save that. Now, it's not quite ready. We have to do a little bit of adjustment. I'm going to open my code editor here, and we're going to open our SVG icon right here. And you'll notice that it is full of double quotes. In order to be able to import this properly, we've got to get rid of the double quotes and make them single quotes. So we're going to hit Control H, find and replace the double quote, replace it with a single quote, and we'll replace all. And now that's done. The other thing is that we do not necessarily need to delete it, but just know you won't import it. You don't need this XML tag at the front end. All we need is everything between the opening SVG and closing SVG tags. So just so we don't forget, I'm gonna come in here and I'm gonna delete that and get rid of it. Okay, our SVG file is ready to go. Let's go into our Power App, and we've got our blank screen here that we're gonna work with. And what we're going to do is insert an image, not an icon, but an image, okay? That's the very important thing. And we're going to come in here, we'll do our naming convention image, and I always do image ICO. It's not actually an icon, so I don't name it ICO at the front end. It's still an image control, and so we're going to call it image ICO, and we'll call this profile. Now, do not go in here and say add an image file and point it to your SVG. That's not how we do this. We actually have to go in and edit the image properties. So the first thing we have to do is tell it what kind of data to expect. I'll have this text in the description. You can just copy and paste it for your own project. I always copy and paste it. Don't worry, I'm not like memorizing this all the time. It's always a copy and paste job. So data, and then it is an image slash SVG plus XML, semicolon, UTF-8, comma. And then we have to add a little bit of text. So we're going to throw in our concatenation ampersand, EncodeUrl, and this is where we put in our SVG data. Whoops. Look at that. That would have been a disaster. Data image SVG plus XML UTF-8. Okay, that looks good. Good night. All right, here we go. Coming back to our SVG data, we're copying and pasting. We're going back in. We paste it in, and boom, there is our SVG icon. And we can resize it. We can do whatever we want here. And so here's some of the great things that we can do with these icons. Let's say that we want to fill this thing. So we can go in here, and let's say we want a nice little pink look, and there we go, a nice fill to our icon. But what if we want to change the icon color itself? It's a little less straightforward, and what we need to do is we have to go into the SVG tag, and what we have to do is come in and put in a fill. So we're going to say fill equals, say, let's make it white, FF, and nothing happens. What in the world? Okay. When you download SVG icons, it is quite often the case that the icon, the individual pieces of the icon, the paths or the rectangles or the circles or all of the different things that make up the icon might have their own fill colors already defined. In this case, check it out, fill equals, and you've got the hex code for black, 6 zeros. What you're going to want to do, if you're planning to do any custom coloring of your SVGs, when you import it or before you import it, sometime you have to go in and find any references to a fill in the individual pieces of the SVG and delete them. So we're going to delete that. And now that we've done that, our SVG fill color in the actual SVG tag is going to control and will override. So if we want to make that black, we go back to 6 zeros. And now it's black. If we want to make it a gray color, there you go. You know, I don't even know what that is. That's probably not even the color. So make it whatever color you're after, and you're good to go. Then that's the basics. That's the basics of using SVG icons. Now, next video, we're going to take it to the next level, and we're going to start with this kind of blank canvas here, and then we're going to create this interface right here where we have some hover colors. I told you that you can't use a hover event with custom icons, but there's kind of a workaround, and we're going to work through that. And then when you click on it, look how that icon changes color to make this cool interactivity. These icons are all, or these, each of these buttons are actually a single component. We've got one component in here, it's a button template, and it creates all of these different icons, and we actually pass the icon to the component. It's not difficult to do, going to show you how to do that, but that's going to be in the next video. So that's it for this tutorial. Be sure that you subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you are made aware when the next tutorial comes out and we take this thing to the next level. Do you know of any other cool icon sites that I need to be aware of? Somebody just told me about Sysfunction Metro like a couple of weeks ago, and this thing's a game changer. I'm sure there's other out there that I didn't get, so be sure to put those in the comments. I'll add that to my list of resources, and be sure to check the description, the links to all of those icon sites, as well as that little code that you need to put at the front end of your image control declaration. That's all there. I am Power Platform Ryan, and now you go out and create something amazing.